Hello, everyone. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever in the world you're joining. Welcome to Open Source Friday. Open Source Friday is a show that is dedicated to highlighting not only the amazing projects that you can find on GitHub, but also the creators of these projects. I'm Andrea Griffiths, a la Colombia Dev in all the places, and I am so happy to be here with you today. I hope everyone can hear me just fine. Today, we're going to be having Andrea in low tech mode. So be patient with me if I'm switching screens and it's taking a moment because I'm working off just my one screen. So welcome, Bernardina. Welcome, Learner. Welcome, Miguel. Welcome, Samuel. Thank you. So nice to see always some familiar faces. Today's stream is super special because we have an amazing human that's going to show us a solution he created to help us actually build more awesome things. But it's about something that's very exciting, right? We're going to be diving into the world of GitHub Copilot extensions. If you have used GitHub Copilot extensions, let me know. Leave a message on the chat. I want to know. And if you haven't yet, and you don't know what GitHub Copilot extensions are, then you are in luck because our guest today has offered to do a zero to hero, friends. So we're going to be learning everything there is to know about GitHub Copilot extensions. And then with the cherry on top, we're actually going to go through the process of creating your own extension. So trust me, it's going to be very exciting. So if you're already using GitHub Copilot or you're just getting started with AI coding assistance, building an extension for those assistants, it's going to increase your capabilities for whatever it is that you're using coding assistance for. So we're going to take a look at how to set up the developer environment. We're going to walk through what creating the GitHub extension looks like. And then I think Nick is actually generously enough going to test the extension live. So my guest today, let me give him a proper introduction. I had the absolute pleasure of meeting this human at Netlify Compose a few months ago. Shout out to the Netlify Compose team. They made an amazing conference happen with a lineup of speakers that was terrific. I was very humbled to be invited to speak. And also, my favorite thing that happened at the conference is that I met some really, really nice people that I can now call my friends. And one of those was actually Nick Taylor. Nick is a passionate advocate for open source, TypeScript, and serverless computing. He's got a knack of bringing teams together to achieve great things. Today, he's here to talk us through the Copilot extension template, which he created. He built it with Node.js using the Hono framework. And this tool is going to give you everything you need to create your own GitHub Copilot extension. Nick did a stream a few weeks ago with two of my favorite humans at GitHub, Gregor and Francis Fuss. And we're going to be sharing the link throughout the transmission too, so that you can go take a look at that, because that was a really, really great special stream about the SDKs. So without further ado, please welcome Nick Taylor, Nicky T Online. Welcome, Nick. Thank you for being
Hey.
here.
Yeah, thanks for having me, Andrea. And it's great to catch up again.
Yes, yes, yes. Okay, so for those of us who've never met Nick before, beyond my intro, I know you live in Canada, right? So
Yeah.
you're up there frozen at the moment. I'm in New York frozen at the moment too, so we share that. And then also you've had a super long, amazing career. We have to link to your talk. I should have asked you this before we started the transmission too, because the talk that you gave on Netlify Compose, I loved.
Yeah,
It was
awesome. Thanks.
it was so nice because I consider myself like I've been here for a hot second. So anytime someone is talking about like nostalgia of, like talking about past technologies and then bringing the new things and you speak on it with such a breadth of knowledge. You're not making this stuff up. You've been there, done that. So I loved your talk. I thought it was amazing. So we'll go ahead and link to that. And today we're here to talk about the future, or the future is now, and that is GitHub
Yeah.
Copilot extensions. Before we get started, I have to ask you a couple of questions, obviously.
Yeah, go for it.
I know you were on the preview, right? Like you got access to the technical preview, or was it of the SDK that you got access to the technical preview? I feel like you've been using GitHub Copilot extensions since it was
Yeah.
first announced.
Yeah, I got access to Copilot Chat pretty early, I think, because when I was working at Open Source, it wasn't even because I was working at Open Source. There's the Discord for, I think, I can't remember if it's
Next,
the
yeah.
GitHub. Yeah, GitHub Next. So it just asked for access. And that's just for anybody in general in the future. If you're interested in trying out things early, hop into the GitHub Next Discord. Just say, hey, I'd like to try this. Sometimes it takes a while, but you can, there'll usually be a sign up on github.com. Let's say like preview of something, sign up now. And then if you go in the GitHub Next yeah, it happened pretty quickly for me. So I got Copilot Chat pretty early, and then I think it must have been through there that I got access to Copilot extensions, and then yeah, I had a peek at them, and I actually built out something for open source where I used to work. So it was a proof of concept of a GitHub Copilot extension that I'll show after once we kind of go through some things. But
Nice.
yeah, it's pretty cool stuff.
Awesome. Okay, so definitely it piqued your interest, obviously, enough that you wanted to like invest your valuable time in building your own thing. So please, Nick, start educating us. For those of us who don't even know what GitHub Copilot is, much less what an
Yeah.
extension is, can you give us like a TLDR? That would be awesome.
Yeah. So, well, GitHub Copilot in general is, I guess I would call it kind of like, you know, your AI literal copilot, like your buddy that helps you along in your editor. And that can be in Visual Studio Code, which I know a lot of people use. I used to do a lot of .NET. So Visual Studio also has access to this, to Copilot. Um, for Copilot Chat, which I'll talk about in a sec, that's actually available in all those products, but it's also available on github.com. So if you have access to Copilot, you'll see on my screen in a bit, but there'll be a little logo on this button that it's the Copilot logo. So I guess it's not an Octonaut. I'm not really sure what it is. It looks like a little pilot with like flight goggles
With
on
your
top.
fly goggles. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah. So you can use it in various like environments, which is super cool. And you can also use it in GitHub code spaces, assuming you have access to Copilot. So it's like it kind of goes wherever you go, you know? So that's a cool thing with just Copilot in general. And then Copilot Chat came out. I can't remember when exactly, but Copilot Chat sounds exactly what you might think it sounds like. So like think of something like if you've used Chat GPT or other kind of AI, chat tools, it's like that, but it's baked into your IDE, whether that's Visual Studio Code, Visual Studio, or like I said, even github.com or GitHub code spaces. And so you can ask Copilot, like, can you refactor this? Or like you can ask questions about your code base or your project. And that alone is cool. But if we talk about Copilot extensions, it's kind of exactly what it sounds like. It's Copilot, but you're extending it. Copilot Chat, but you're extending it. So, for example, maybe something Copilot itself can't answer because maybe it's domain specific knowledge or something. You can
Mm-hmm.
literally tap into any services, and like that's kind of what I did with open source. We have some AI offerings to just ask stuff about your projects, which aren't necessarily code specific. And so it basically enhances the experience of Copilot Chat. And I know when they're still in public beta, I believe. I'm not positive about that. But I know there's other companies like Sentry, for example. They have a Copilot Chat extension. So you could be in your IDE and you could just say like, oh, create a new issue or something, and it'll raise something in Sentry. I haven't used it myself yet, but you can literally, if it's web based, you can integrate anything in there pretty much, APIs, whatever, and with
Exactly.
the it's pretty neat.
So there's a ton of extensions now on the extension marketplace. I mean, a ton. I'm gonna drop the link so folks can check it out because I mean Docker has one, Perplexity has one, Stack Overflow has
Mhm.
one. There's literally if you use a service external to GitHub and you want to Atlassian Rovo has one, Launch Darkly has one, New Relic. It's just
Yeah.
a way, like you just mentioned, to augment your not only your knowledge base, but also access to the tools that you're already using, and you don't have to
Mhm.
leave your IDE to go and do the work that you want to do. So that is amazing. You mentioned open source, and you create an extension for open source, right?
Yeah.
Open source. I always get it confused. And remind me, what was the objective of of that specific extension that you created? Like, why did you want to
Yeah.
add that to the service?
Because we have there's an app for open source. If you go to app.opensource.pizza, it's a website / app, and you can ask questions there. Hey, how's it going, Cassidy? Nice to see you. and you can go there and like I built out I didn't build out the AI offerings. I did a little bit of work in that, but I built out the whole chat experience. And basically we can ask questions about your projects, like Copilot itself and Copilot Chat are really good at answering stuff about code. But at Open Source, we were more digging into there's GitHub Insights on GitHub, but we kind of made kind of like GitHub Insights plus, I guess. And so we can ask stuff about a project. So for example, you could say like, people might have heard the term bus factor before, which is a terrible term because it means like what happens to a project if somebody gets killed by getting hit by a bus. So we've used a little more
There's no nice
tender
way to
term.
say it.
Yeah, so we went with lottery factor. So it's like, what happens if Andrea wins the lottery and just says, I'm done? Yeah, exactly. Lottery. Totally. Yeah. Jinxies. Sorry. I'm following Cassidy in the chat. So we can ask questions like that, or like, who's worked on Rust, recently, or who tackled security issues recently, like in your repository. And these are questions, at least not right now, I don't think that Copilot can answer it. Copilot's really good at code refactoring,
Right.
or like, I don't know what a binary search tree is. Tell me, so it's stuff like that. So the purpose of creating that was, you're in your IDE already, you can ask questions about your repositories just by being in the chat. And the other thing I was going to mention about Copilot Chat and when you extend it is, when you use your extension, you have access to all the answers and prompts that were already in Copilot Chat from either Copilot Chat itself or other extensions. You literally have all the messages. So like I could even ask something, like I could ask something to some other service and get an answer. And then I could use my own extension and say, hey, what is that answer from that other thing? Can you, give me a better response now that I have more information? So you have I don't know how far back in the messages you have access to when you actually keep going, but you just get more context and you have access to all that context, which is kind of cool as well. It's not isolated to just your Copilot extensions question, like prompts and answers. So that's pretty cool too.
Okay, so this extension that you created for open source was to help all these amazing projects that suddenly found themselves with the missing winner of the lottery that decided to take off, right? And so now they have a way to access basically the knowledge base of the project without it being like a super cumbersome thing, like just more in-depth details about the project itself, beyond the code too, right? Like beyond the technicalities of what you wrote open source on more like detailed info. Okay, cool.
Yeah.
So I have to ask you one more question, and then I'm gonna let you run whatever.
Oh yeah, go for it.
I want us to show it because I think like there is a lot of still to this day, my friends. There's still a lot of skepticism, and I know you have had a long career too, and so there's still a lot of senior folks that are maybe not as open to the idea of utilizing this type of tools, augmenting themselves, even adding the curiosity to maybe we could use a Copilot extension for our service. But just in your experience, from what you saw after the creation of that extension for open source, if you can share anything any upsides that you saw in here. In Open Source Friday, we talk about everything. So if there were no upsides, you can tell me that too. But I'm more curious to know if there, like if you saw any difference as to how it changed maybe the way that your users were able to interact, and some of the companies that actually like use the service, if that increased their, I don't know, their ability, they augmented it.
Yeah, no, that's a great question. Well, to be clear, the extension I made was actually a proof of concept. So so it didn't go live because unfortunately, although open source was awesome, I no longer work there now. But it's still, it was basically a proof of concept, and we were going to go ahead with it probably. But the thing I'll say about Copilot Chat or AI in general for people who are skeptical, even senior people, is it's a tool. I think I really do think you need to embrace these tools, but I think the differences I see right now is as somebody more senior, when I ask like Copilot or whatever AI services I end up using, I don't take it as truth immediately. I question it, or sometimes it doesn't even give me the right answer, but I kind of treat it like rubber ducking. For newer folks to the industry, rubber ducking is literally like, I have one right here. This is a rubber duck from Jason Langsdorf's Learn with Jason. It's a rubber duck corgi, but basically the idea back in the day was you would just talk to it and like to just, get your brain thinking. And I kind of treat, like Copilot Chat like that, like I'll say, what about this, and then it says something and I'm like, and it just helps me get my thoughts flowing. And it's not to say that it doesn't give me right answers, but like, when it does, that's great. But when it doesn't, I find it helps me communicate better, because like the thing with AI tools in general, including Copilot, is you need to be as specific as possible. If I just said like, build me an e-commerce site, what's it going to do? It's going to try and build something, but like, like, no, I want the shopping cart up here. I want this, like you do have to get specific. So I think those are things that help to the only thing I'll mention about it is I think if you're starting off like in tech, it, as somebody who doesn't know as much maybe yet, you might just, okay, Copilot said this, so it's 100% that, which it might not be, because AI is still non-deterministic and it's not always,
right.
If you look at even Copilot Chat says at the beginning, AI makes mistakes or something. So so I think the difference is I think everybody should be using these tools, but you should still question them, at least at this point, what you get back, and definitely try it out. Obviously, don't just say like copy paste YOLO push to prod, like it's but that said, the tools are awesome.
The same process that you will do even if you're pair programming with someone, like that's, you're bouncing off ideas. Not everything that Nick is going to suggest is going to be what ends up on the code. So it's sort of that same dynamic. You gotta have that skepticism and trust that, and for the more senior folks, I see it like such an advantage because you actually have the know-how, so you can augment the way that you're sharing that with your teams. All right, take us away, Nick. I want to see this in action. Should I share your screen now?
Yeah, go for it. So
all right,
cool. Let me know if that's okay. I was zoomed in enough, I think. Okay,
I'll
just show you. Okay, I'll just show you first. So here's Copilot here on github.com. And like I was saying, it says right here, Copilot uses AI, check for mistakes. So I could ask Copilot, for example, what is the lottery factor of remix run remix, which is the remix project. And it's probably not going to be able to answer me. If it does, it didn't before, but we'll see. Okay, Copilot's thinking here. Okay, now it's answering. Maybe it's because I asked it before.
Right.
Okay, well, anyways, but if you do want to use an extension, a Copilot extension, you have to, if you're going to ask using your extension, you always have to start with @ and you have to choose your extension. And because if you put it elsewhere, it won't use it. It'll always use just Copilot. So that's one thing. I don't know if this is still running or not, but this is the Blackbeard agent. This is one of the examples from the Copilot preview SDK. So if I say, what is a binary search tree? Okay, no, I'm not running it. Okay, let's do the other one. Let's go back to, okay. So if I say, what is the, who's worked on security issues recently in remix, run remix. I hope this works because it's a live demo though. So
this is we're gonna go with it. Okay, so it looks like the extension is not live yet. Or this is
no, it was doing this before because like the service, it needs to warm up. I think not Copilot, but the open source one. I think it's gonna answer now.
Okay,
it's running. Also, just to be clear, this is running off of my computer right now, so it might be slower than actually if it was deployed. But you can see here. So I asked. This is the open source proof of concept Copilot extension template, and I said like, what are some security issues people have worked on, and it returns some and some issues. So this is stuff that, at least right now, from what I've seen, Copilot just on its own can't answer. So I'm leveraging the services in open source to extend Copilot by providing more information about the repository. Hey, what's up, Brandon? My old coworker is in the chat
Nice.
too. So anyways, that's just a brief overview of how to use it. But the other thing I want to mention is you can use it on several properties. So if I come into VS Code and I open Copilot Chat here, and let me just switch to light theme. It's a little better for live streaming. Okay, so I think I should be able to zoom this in because yeah. Okay. Yeah, thank you.
There we go. I see it.
Okay, so I can say that same thing here at open source. In here, I can say, what is the lottery factor of remix run remix? And the thing I want to point out here is we have one Copilot extension, but it's available on multiple places. So I was just on github.com, and I was able to ask questions to the open source Copilot extension, and now I'm in VS Code. I can't show Visual Studio Code because I just don't have it installed. I'm on my Mac. But anyways, I just wanted to showcase that as well. So now what I want to do is I want to show you how you can get up and running with your first Copilot extension. So we have this repository, which I think you shared, Andrea. If not,
yes, I'm sharing it once again on the chat right now.
Okay.
And folks, don't forget to drop a star on the repo. I gotta ask people to do that.
Yeah. So what you can do is, I made this a GitHub repository template. So I say I want to use this template, and I'm going to create a new repository, and let's just call it OSS Friday Copilot. And I'm just going to go ahead and create a new repository. Oh, I got to pick. Okay. So now I started off with the template, but now I've just created my own repo. So this is what I would recommend you do if you want to use it. You could clone the actual template if you want, but I just am leveraging the feature of GitHub repository templates. So now that I have it, I'm going to go ahead and copy it. I'm a big fan of the GitHub CLI, so I'm going to just use that to clone the project. And I'm just going to come over here into VS Code. I'll just zoom in a bit here. I'm going to go to my dev OSS folder, and I'm going to paste in the GitHub Copilot, GitHub CLI command, and it's going to clone the repository. And now I'm going to open up the project in VS Code, and it'll be OSS Friday Copilot. And now we have the project here. And basically at this point, we'll walk through some of the stuff, but I'm just going to show you how to get set up for development. So first we're going to do npm install. It's a Node.js project. So I'm going to install all the dependencies. And that's done. And then I'm just going to change one thing in the project because it's using port 3000, but the open source template one that I have running right now is on the same port. So I'm just going to change it to 4000.
Okay.
Okay. And I mean, you can decide whatever port, but anyways, so that's going to start, and I'm going to just run npm run dev. So this is going to start the Hono dev server, and we can see that it's running on port 4000 now. So if I come to localhost 4000, we should say welcome to the Copilot extension template. That's
just
great.
like that.
Yeah. Okay. So this is great, but if we want to install, or if we want to create a GitHub Copilot extension, we need to create a GitHub app. And to do that, we need an actual public URL. So what I'm going to do is, there's other ways you can do this, but I'm in VS Code all the time. So I'm going to leverage a feature of VS Code. If you go to ports, you can do forward a port. So I'm on port 4000 on my computer running this. So I'm going to choose that. And then all of a sudden, I'm going to have a URL I can go to now. And I'll drop this in the chat if you want to go to it, Andrea. I'll just paste it in the private chat.
Please.
So
thank you.
Now, if you go to this right now, that it's not going to resolve. And the problem is, by default, the port forwarding is set to private because, like, if you're doing your own development, you don't want other people maybe. But for the purposes of testing the Copilot extension, I need to make it public. So I'm going to change the port visibility to public. And I'll just say continue. It's just giving me a disclaimer that it's going public. And now anybody can go to that address and it should say, welcome to the Copilot extension template.
I see it. Look at it. That's awesome.
Okay.
I love the
so that's the first part of making the extension. The next part is we need to set up a GitHub app. So I'm going to go to github.com. And I'll just mention one thing about this. The Copilot extension template, you do need to create a GitHub app, but you can also create a Copilot extension, but only for VS Code. And that's a different approach, but it only works in VS Code. The way we're doing this, it's available on github.com, Visual Studio, or VS Code. So I just opted for that. So basically what we need to do, if you've never created a GitHub app, you have to go to your settings, and then you have to come down to developer settings. And you can see here, I already have the open source one and stuff, but we're going to create a new GitHub app. And I'm going to call it OSS Friday. And okay, so there's a few things we need to do here now. So that URL that I'm just made public, I'm going to copy it. And I'm going to paste it in here. Now, because I'm just doing development right now, I'm pasting the same URL here. But if you had a home page for your extension, like an actual domain, not the service, you could have, like, myawesomeextension.com or something here. But I'm just putting one in because it's required right now. One thing I'll mention is we're not using this callback URL, but when I did the live stream with Gregor, he mentioned right now you still need to add it. I think he said in the future for Copilot extensions, they're just going to make this not required. But for now, I'm just pasting in anything. Just mentioning that because it won't work otherwise. And aside from that, that's pretty much it. We don't need to have a webhook. And I'm not going to go into all the details of GitHub apps because that's like probably a whole other topic. But this is like the initial stuff you need to do. And then we also need to do account permissions. So what we do is, and this is a general thing in software development, we want to go with the principle of least privilege. So only give only what's necessary. And in our case, we only need read-only access to Copilot Chat. And everything else we can skip. I'm going to create it only for my account for now. We can, if we have time, I'll open it so everybody can try it, but we'll see about that. I don't want to DDoS my own computer.
Yeah, yeah. Let's keep it tight for now.
Cool.
Awesome.
All right. So, okay, I need to generate a private key. Sure. I'll do that. Okay. Okay. Let me go back to my settings here, my new app here, OSS Friday. There's one other thing we need to do is there's this new section in GitHub Apps called Copilot. And by default, it's disabled. And we need to say it's an agent. Skill set is something new. I didn't see that before. That's something newer, which I don't know. Spoiler alerts, maybe. I don't know what that is. But okay. And now we just need to add in the URL. And this is the URL when you go and ask questions to your Copilot extension template, it's going to go to this URL, which currently points to my own computer. And sure, it's just a description. I'm just going to put whatever. I don't know, Cassidy and Andrea are awesome.
Thank you.
All right. So I think we're set up with everything. We'll find out in a sec. And all these things I'm walking through about like setting up the GitHub app. If you go to the extension template repo, there's a whole set of documentation on all these things I'm doing right now. So you can, and it's based off of a blog post I wrote on Dev2 in my own blog a while ago. And Mika Rodriguez, who just started working at DQ Systems. She was kind enough to port my blog post to the instructions on the Copilot extension template. So,
awesome. I'm sharing the link to that blog post too. So if folks can want to go check it out later, they can.
Cool. All right. So I think we're all set up now. So let's just try this out. And then I'm going to walk through like the stuff that's going on in the template. So I'm going to go into Copilot here. Do I have one yet? Oh yeah, missed one step. Everything's configured for the extension, but me as the user, I have to install the app now. So I'm going to go ahead and install it. And again, this is all in the documentation in the repo. Okay, so I should be good now. So now if I come into Copilot here, do I have at? Okay, so we've got OSS Friday here now. And
wow.
let's see here. I can say like, explain, I don't know. Anybody in the chat want to throw out a question that we can
There
ask?
was a question. There was a question about what an agent was, and I did give a little blurb from So let's answer that question. And thank you so much. I think it was Purnima who asked the question.
Okay. This is a one-time thing. I just need to allow it.
Okay.
And I'm going to say authorize it because it's a GitHub app. And this is one quirk of that whole flow right now, which Gregor mentioned to me. It does the whole authorization, but it doesn't bring you back to the Copilot page where you started. So I'm just going to come back to where we started, github.com. This is something I imagine in terms of user experience will probably get cleaned up at some point.
It will. Yes.
It's a minor thing, but okay. So I'm going to say at OSS Friday.
There we go.
What is an AI agent? So now what's going to happen is, so it did answer. So this is, just to be clear, this is the website that's running on my computer right now that's going out and asking this question. So it responds with your username. That's just something I added in the template. And it just tells you what it is. So an AI agent is a software entity that performs tasks on behalf of users by autonomously making decisions and taking actions to achieve specific goals, and so on and so on. And then it gives a bunch of stuff. And then this is from Copilot itself, maybe just saying there's some resources that are redacted because I don't have sufficient access, I guess, for something. But you can see here, so we went from 0 to hero pretty quick with the template. Obviously, you don't want to deploy my template. You want to make it your own. But that's how quickly you can get set up with it and start playing around with GitHub Copilot Chat and extensions. So, and I just want to reiterate, if I come back to Copilot now, to VS Code, and if I just hide some stuff here, and I'm back in the Copilot chat in VS Code, I'm going to say at OSS. Is it in here yet? Oh, maybe I have to close it. It'll definitely be in here. At OSS. Why is it not showing up yet? Interesting. It's a live demo, so nothing's perfect. But what are AI agents? Okay, it seems to be, it just didn't pick up my thing, I guess. Okay. All right, and you got some code examples, and there you go. So, okay, so we've gone from like, okay, we cloned the template, we started the web server locally, we set up port forwarding because we're in our development environment, we set the port forwarding to public so everybody can, like the GitHub app can actually access it. And then we configured a GitHub app with the minimum requirements to be able to use it as a GitHub Copilot extension. So now I kind of want to walk through some of the things in the code, just to explain some of the things you can use. So I'm going to go ahead and just close the chat here, and I'll just open this up, and I might zoom in one more time just for.
That looks good, Nick.
Cool. All right. So we're using Hono. what I'll mention is you don't need to use Hono. I just decided to use that for the template. You could use whatever you want. If you want to use Express, etc. You can also use, it doesn't have to be JavaScript or TypeScript. The reason why I'm doing it in JavaScript right now is the preview SDK that I mentioned before, Andrea. It's still in preview and it's only available for JavaScript, so it would work with TypeScript and JavaScript projects. I'm sure, I have no doubt it'll be available in other languages eventually. But one thing that's interesting is for anybody who's a fan of open source and kind of wants to get in early on Copilot extension stuff where you could have a big impact, is I would suggest opening an issue on the preview SDK project and say like, hey, I'd like to port this project to Go or like to Elixir or whatever languages you use. And I think that'd be great for the community. And also it'd be pretty, I don't know about you, but like I've worked on some projects where like millions of people use it every month, and it feels kind of cool. So
amazing.
You could have some big impact there if you decide to port this to another language. But
rare opportunity to get in
yeah,
to something
exactly.
super impactful so early. Yeah, cool.
Yeah. Oh, thanks, Chithapu in the chat there. Yeah, it's fun stuff. So these are things that I'm pulling out of the preview SDK here, these imports here, and I'm going to just kind of walk you through stuff here. So this stuff is Hono specific, this c.text. That just means it's just writing HTML to the page, which just happens to be a string. This is where we kind of want to look. So if you've ever used Express, Hono is like it too. But basically, this is for requests that are post to the API. And that's what we've configured in the, if we come back to the GitHub app real quick here, where is it? Settings. All right, just doing a time check here. We're pretty good for time still. So
yeah, we're good.
Okay, so if we come back to the permissions, sorry, the Copilot stuff, the slash here is what represents here. So, or even if you didn't have the slash, it just means the root and when we post here. And this is stuff we're going to get from GitHub Copilot. It's going to send this token in the header. That's one thing. And then there's going to be some stuff coming from GitHub as well. These are all things for security purposes. Not going to go too deep into the security aspect of things, aside from mentioning there's this this function that you can use from the preview SDK called verify and parse request. And basically, it takes the request that just came in and it validates that it's valid, because it's the internet. Even on Copilot Chat, people are nefarious. So this basically just validates like, hey, is this good? Is it safe to use? If it is, okay, we'll continue on. But if it doesn't, we just say like, nope, sorry, see you next time. And then this token here, this comes from, if we come up here real quick, that's the token in the header here. This is, think of this like as your token when you need access to stuff in GitHub. And if there is none, then I'm just returning an error. And I'll talk about the things here. So there's this create errors event. This is something in Copilot that will actually show an error, like the UI will look different. And we can do that real quick. Like I'll just do this. I'll create an error even though it's not an error. So I'm just going to literally just paste it here. And let's come back to github.com for a sec here. And if I say the same thing again, it should give me an error because okay, yeah, see? So I've returned an error using the preview SDK, and Copilot Chat has actually said, yeah, you know, it reports my error, but you notice that it has UI related to the error as well. And that's not something I need to do. I just need to say report an error event, and Copilot Chat will give you some nice UI with the error. So that's one thing. Let's just put this back so we're working. Okay, and then this we don't need to go into too deeply, but it's basically a streaming response from the API. And the first thing we do is there's this function from the preview SDK called create ACK event, which means acknowledge event. And when this gets streamed to Copilot Chat, this is when you start to see the little spinning thing that says Copilot is working, kind of. And then there's some stuff here. This is just, I'm using OctoKit, which is another project from GitHub, and I'm just getting the user. And then there's this other method called get user message. And basically what this does is it gets the question you just asked. So the one I asked about, like, what is an AI agent, that would come here. And I can show you this real quickly. Let's just add the Node debugger. Whoops, there we go. Run and debug. Yes, attach to process. Okay, did that attach? Hold on a sec. Let me just configure this. All right, you know what? Let's just do it in the JavaScript debug terminal. That'll be easier. Just give me 1 second here. For folks who are new to VS Code, there's terminals, but you can also choose a JavaScript debug terminal, and this just manages, you don't need to wire up saying node inspect and stuff. So I'm going to just start up the dev server again. And it's script is waiting for debugger to disconnect. Why did it not? Interesting. Okay. Oh, it's because I didn't say dev. Okay. So right now we have the Node.js debugger attached, and I'm going to go back to here and I'm going to ask a question, and that's going to be start thinking. And then we end up in the code here, and you can see here, here's the payload, and you can look in the messages here. There's a bunch of them, but you can see my question in here. What is an AI agent? And what I was mentioning before is you have all the previous messages too. So you could, if you wanted to, you could use the previous messages, to just kind of add more context to what you are asking. For now, I'm just using the individual one, and then I'll just attach the debugger. I just wanted to just show you that. And then basically, there's another cool thing here. This is called prompt. It's another method function, and this is, think of this kind of like a prompt like you would use like when you ask Copilot Chat or any kind of AI service. You're going to say, here's my question. I'm using my GitHub token that I have access to, and then it's going to give me my answer here, and that's the explanation of what an AI agent is. There's a bunch of other things in the preview SDK, but all these things already just make it really easy to build a Copilot extension. And then the last, there's 2 others I'll mention that are handy. So there's this create text event, and this is what actually writes the response in Copilot Chat. And so like when I say, hi, Nikki T online here, that's what this is up here, right here. If I zoom in, whoops. And then the other one here, which is the message content, that's the rest of it, which is this part here. And if we come back here now, and then the other thing you need to do at the end is you just tell Copilot that you're done. So you have this create done event, and that's kind of it. And then there's like errors again, like I was mentioning. And again, this is just a template. So it's really just a starting point, and you kind of go with it from there. And yeah, so that's kind of essentially what the template is and what it does. And we've kind of covered how you can get set up for development environment and stuff. I don't go over how you deploy it, but basically if you did want to deploy it, you deploy however you deploy your things normally, whether that's to like Azure, Netlify, Vercel, Fly, wherever you deploy your
whatever
stuff.
service.
And then you just have to reference that in the GitHub app, the URLs. And that's kind of it. And the other thing is there's a lot of other things. If we go, I'll just go to the preview SDK here. There's a lot more things. I didn't use everything that's in there, but I encourage you to just check out this project and see what else there is. Like there's the custom prompt, which I mentioned, the verify. There's a few others in here, I think. There's some more security ones, the acknowledge sending. Okay, there's even stuff like create confirmation event, which you could say like, are you sure you want to do this? And then that'll send to Copilot. It'll actually generate like a, are you sure you want to do this? Yes, no kind of thing.
Nice.
So there's a few other things in here, and this one's cool too. This is called create references event, and basically you can natively show in Copilot like issues or PRs, and the UI will look slightly different. I could try and maybe show one of those. I don't know if I have an example. Okay, yeah, I do have an example. So let's do this real quick. And okay. So let's come back to here. And where is it? I'm just going to zoom out for a sec. Okay, so I'm going to add another stream.write here because we're streaming this whole thing. I'm going to paste this in. And is that right? Let's see, what's it saying? What's it not liking? Create reference. Cannot. Oh yeah, doesn't exist. Let me import it. Okay, and then I clearly pasted something wrong. So let me fix that real quick. I'll just show this because I think this is a neat feature of in the SDK right now. So that should be it. What doesn't it like? Argumentize the type. Oh, I think I forgot something maybe. No. Create references. Stream.write. Oh, it's because I have two of them in here. This is always the beauty of live coding. It's still not liking something though. Let's see what's
Property assignments.
Property assignment expected. Just trying to see here real quick. I won't dwell on this too much if not. But
is it giving you a suggestion? Like if you click on the little stars on the bottom, where Copilot was trying to help you figure out what was wrong with it.
Oh yeah. Actually, yeah. Good call. Why don't we use Copilot too? So here. So let's see here. Okay. Fix the stream.write.
And this answers Ravi's question earlier. Ravi was actually asking, and thank you, Ravi, for the question. Can you use GitHub Copilot to write a GitHub Copilot extension or VS Code extensions? And yes, you can use GitHub Copilot to help you do anything.
Yeah, exactly. Okay, actually, let's fix this. I'm gonna just copy paste it directly. And if we
let's hope this
please fix. I'm gonna just be very general.
You are so polite.
Sometimes I try to thank it with a bottle of wine, but okay, yeah, I'm missing a brace. I don't know why.
It's a brace, of course it is. It's always
I'm just.
But where?
Okay. Stream reference because it's an array. That's why I'm confused. But anyways, I'm gonna copy what it says. Okay, let's just copy this whole thing here. Reference issue metadata. Oh, I think I know what I did maybe, but let's see here. All right, we're good. Okay, so let's come back here. And let's go to the chat again. And this is going to show a random issue that in that referencer, but I just want to show you what it looks like. So what is a binary search tree? So there's that create ACK event that I mentioned before. That's what you're going to see in a sec, the spinning thing. It might be a little slower because it's running from my own computer and going to there, but we'll give it a second. It's development mode. So, okay, I'm sorry, but there was an error. Okay. It's clearly something I changed. Okay, object literal may only know specify. Okay, I think it has to be an array. Okay, yeah. I don't know why it wasn't working before, but let's just try that again. And if this doesn't work, it's okay. We can, it's something I will leave for homework for people to try out when they create their own extension templates.
Exactly. Okay. You can come back. There you go.
All right, so it responded, but I don't know. Oh yeah, so it added, this is like UI that it injects by using that create references. And it's like, you could obviously just represent this in text form, like in the message here, but now you get this nice bit of UI where you can say, here's a reference and let's go to that issue. And all this UI, this is nothing I need to do. I can just say open it and then it'll go. It's a non-existent issue because it was just an example, but so you can do that with like issues and pull requests. So that's just another thing. And I guess really what I'm getting at is I think you should just check out the preview SDK, take the
Yes.
Copilot extension template for a spin. And I'm just really curious what people end up building with it. Yeah, honestly.
Yes. Okay. This is awesome. So everyone go ahead and give it a go. Try the Copilot template. Like, you made it super easy for anyone to start writing their own extension. What are some use cases that you can think of people that could use it for? Like, I know you mentioned earlier on the call when we're talking about what, like, specific to open source, that proof of concept that you have. Any other
Yeah.
ideas that you think would be cool for people to explore them within their own projects and at work? Like, what would be in something that you haven't seen yet that we can give folks ideas to create their own
Yeah.
extensions?
I mean, depending on what you do for work, like you probably have services you access, and potentially it makes sense to integrate those APIs into a Copilot extension template. Like I could see, like, say you provide a product, like, I don't know, like we, like say you're using something like PostHog and you're coding with it, and somebody from PostHog creates a PostHog Copilot extension. So there's the Copilot part where it's helping you with the code, but maybe the Copilot extension for PostHog will be able to support it better, enhance the suggestions maybe,
Mm-hmm.
or even just say like, you ask it, I'm trying to do this, what do I do? And it could answer that, and that's something, I think this is the thing with AI right now is like, I think a lot of these chat things, like they're kind of like these all-knowing oracles. But
Mm-hmm.
I think the trend I'm seeing is people are getting specific with things, like this agent or this Copilot extension is really good at this one thing. And that's where I think you'll see the power of these things. And you can use multiple. So like I was showing before when I opened it, like I had the Blackbeard agent, I had the open source one, we had the one I created today. So yeah, I think it's literally, not to sound cheesy, but it's really a way to extend and leverage the capabilities of Copilot.
Yeah, and I love what you just mentioned, because I think that's part of the beauty of it, that you don't have the one service that is trying to do everything, because that's not the way that also software engineering works, and that's not the way that you build things. But you take
Yeah,
the service that's doing the one thing that's really good at it, and then you augment it and augment the capabilities of the whatever knowledge base or whatever you, by creating and using the extensions. That's awesome. Let's
yeah.
give it, and I'm so sorry, Nick. I took way more time from you than I asked for. I always
Oh,
do
it's all
this.
good.
I'm sorry, but I want to give folks an opportunity on the chat to see if they have a question. Oh, we have, hey, what's up? And I'm sorry, LinkedIn folks, I don't know what's wrong with it. I can't see who they are, but thanks a lot to whoever this
Yeah,
is. You're my favorite. I appreciate you. Thank you, Learner, also for being here. This is one of my colleagues, Bruno, agreeing. Yeah, definitely like Copilot for specific domains. So like the
okay.
Azure extension. Thank you, Bruno. It's like you work for Microsoft or something. Appreciate the plug there. But no, it's a good extension. Definitely check it out if you live in the Azure world. Let's see. There's a question from Cesar Cruz. Can you use to review a DDR with specific class from QA? I guess if you have a QA specific service
Yeah,
and it has an
yeah.
extension.
Yeah, some things that could be interesting maybe is like DDR is domain driven. I forget what the R is, but like I could picture, you know, imagine just getting specifics like from a, like an issue or something, or like there's other kinds of things. Like there's something called gherkins, which is another thing that business people will use to describe what it does. It'd be kind of
Mhm.
cool to have like a gherkin to code extension, maybe. I don't know. Detailed design review. Okay, yeah.
There you
I
go.
basically, to answer your questions, Caesar, I think you could, like, if that's something that you wanted to do, as long as you can implement something from a QA standpoint to validate
Mhm.
it, like you probably have some API service that would say like validate this DDR. I don't see why you couldn't just integrate it in. And yeah, I guess for ideas for people, again, like just think about maybe pain points at your work. And if you are leveraging Copilot already, like maybe you can just build one or more of these Copilot extensions to just help with your workflows.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah. Anything that you can do to like make the non-essential things, the things that take you out of flow while you're working, because now you gotta exit whatever you're on and go
Yeah.
find an answer from another service. You don't have to do that anymore because you can stay on VS Code and do it all and utilize the Copilot extensions like Nikki just showed us. Okay, Nick, this has been amazing. I want to make sure that before we close out, I share all the links that we talked about.
Yeah. Sure.
Definitely make sure that you go buy the extension template repo started. At the beginning of the call before we were live, I asked Nick how people could contribute to the project, and the template is pretty straightforward, but maybe for folks that are interested in getting into the SDK world, going in and creating, help import it through different languages, give it more access, that will be awesome. So I'll make sure to share that again as well.
Okay.
And then I have to share you because folks, you're in luck. If you're watching this stream and you're thinking, you know what, I would like to hire a really amazing unicorn of a engineer slash DevRel slash content creator slash all around human person, it's your guy right there. So Nick
Thanks for
is
the kind
open.
words.
Nick is taking phone calls. He's open to dating companies. So if
Yeah.
you're in the market for an amazing somebody is going to augment your company like these extensions I'll make GitHub Copilot Chat, Nick is your guy. So don't forget to just go follow online. I shared your one link that takes us everywhere.
Cool.
But
Cool.
yes,
Thanks.
please reach out to Nick. Sorry, Nick, I had to do that. I'm just
I appreciate the kind words, and yeah, thanks again for having me on. It gives me an excuse to hang out with you. So
No, I super appreciate it. Shout out to, listen, Brandon's worked with you before, and Brandon says, yes, 100%. Your
thanks,
person
Brandon.
that, yeah, for sure. So this is awesome. Make sure that you can rewatch the streams. I know there were some folks that were asking earlier. Yes, all of the streams that you've seen here on Open Source Friday are available on the Open Source Friday playlist on YouTube. So if you missed a bit of the stream and you want to go back and take it step by step, you can do it. But honestly, the best way also would be to go back to that repo. Nick's got some great documentation there, and it's going to lead you just straight to the process, what you need to know. If you do build your own GitHub Copilot extension using Nick's template, and because you watched this stream, please let me know. Send me a message.
That'd be
Send
super
Nick
cool.
a message. I will send you something because I love it when people actually take the things that we show in this time and make something fun for them. Let me share. What am I sharing now? I just shared your screen real quick. That is just Nick. Sorry. That's
I
just
didn't
Nick.
mean to. No, it's all good. Didn't mean to share my profile. I was looking at something.
No, but I like it. Oh, what's this open source thing? I like that.
It's a GitHub. It's a GitHub action I created that if you want to showcase your open source profile, it puts that image, and then if you click on it, it goes to your profile on open source. And it's a GitHub action. If you look in GitHub Marketplace,
it should be in the marketplace. Yeah. Oh, and definitely, folks. Before we take a look at the marketplace for actions, all the Copilot extensions that we mentioned today, obviously the ones that have been published and that are in the marketplace. So you can go and take a look at the services that you already use, and they might actually have a Copilot extension. And if there isn't one, then you can create one using this awesome open source template. Oh, there is. Okay, cool.
This is a different one. This is a cool one too, but I'm not sure where the other one is, but I'll try and find it.
Okay, we can always share in the chat on the comments later, but awesome. Okay, Nick, where are you gonna be next? You got any travel, any conferences lined up? Anything else that you want to share?
Yeah, I got a few. Well, speaking of Copilot extensions, I'm going to be talking at Danny Thompson's conference, Commit Your Code 2025. We're going to basically be doing, I'm basically going to do live coding like we did today, but just walking people through kind of what we went through today and just talking about the value of Copilot extensions. And
nice.
We'll see. I might end up at other conferences doing that too. Depends on CFPs. But aside from that, right now I have another conference. It's a local one in Montreal where I'm at. It's called Confu. Going to be giving a talk, the same talk I gave at Netlify Compose about HTML forms. And I'm also going to be I think, yeah, I'm giving a talk there too about the Copilot extension. So I'm Copilot extension guy everywhere right now.
I appreciate that, Nick. Thank you so much for your time today. Thank you for sharing this project. And I appreciate that you made it open source and that you encourage people to contribute to the SDK. And you're just awesome. Thank you, Nick. Thank you for being here.
Yeah, thanks so much. And thanks everybody in the chat today.
All right, folks, don't forget to go ahead and give Nick a follow. I'm going to share it one more time. Don't forget to go by the repo and leave a star, please. Give the Copilot extension a star, but also give Nick a follow on all of the social channels. And if you work for a company that's currently hiring and you're looking for an awesome engineer or DevRel or content or just, there's very few people that can do all of those things and do them well. So definitely send them Nick's profile and have them take a look. It's been a pleasure to be here with you today. I super appreciated all the questions in the chat. Thank you again for your patience with us today, what we got going. Don't forget, give it a go. If you do end up building a Copilot extension template, and listen, even if you don't publish it in the marketplace and it's not for a specific service that is a giant service, I don't care. I want to see it. Let me know. Share it with me, please. And maybe we'll bring you on to Open Source Friday to share it with the rest of the open source community. I appreciate everything that you do for the support of open source. We will see you in January, my friends. We're going to be taking a short hiatus for the next couple of weeks because we're trying to be on holiday mode. So we're going to do it. But I do suggest that you stay tuned for the next 2 weeks. There's going to be some very exciting announcements coming from GitHub that you do not want to miss. If you have not yet, subscribe to our YouTube channel. So even if you are on full-on holiday mode and you happen to miss an announcement or two, you can still see it. Great project indeed. Kojo, you're the best. Listen, we need somebody to start writing this. I don't know. There's got to be a Python SDK. There's got to be some other things that can be done there. So shout out to Kojo, shout out to Tali, shout out to Ray. Thank you all so much for being here. Carlos, you're always here supporting us. Thank you, Learning. Thank you, Tonka. Thank you, Purnima. I appreciate you all so much. Have a great rest of your week, and we will see you at the next Open Source Friday in January. Take care.